I think the first question most people have, because you all have been on the case, a part of the family, you're the father of Sonia Massey. How are you feeling about the verdict? And I'll start with you, Mr. Wilbur.
I think that we were looking for full justice, and we only got partial justice. But that's because it was what was allowed by the Illinois law. I think that the Sangamon County attorney, John Milheiser and Mary Beth Rogers, they did a yeoman's job of carrying the weight of this massive injustice that was done to my child. And they did all they could. And I'm thankful for what they did.
Teresa, you mentioned outside that this wasn't necessarily justice.
It was just us. I was devastated. I was very disappointed.
So in this particular case, if you guys are not familiar, this was a police officer that was, he went to a emotionally disturbed person call, and they were there for a little bit. The body cam footage, I'm not sure if they're going to break it down in this particular video, but he gets to the scene. He's there with his partner. He's there with a person that's obviously, she's mentally not well. And she proceeds to go to the kitchen. She grabs a pot of boiling water. He picks it up. He tells her to drop it. He shoots her. He kills her. And he has now been convicted of second-degree murder. That's where we are. The family is upset because they wanted first-degree murder. And let's just give them a listen.
As a black woman with a black child and a black granddaughter, Sonia's like a daughter to me. And I thought about Sonia, and I thought of all the women who've gone before her. Sandra Bland, Breonna Taylor, and the list goes on and on. No justice, no peace. I have no peace behind this verdict. It was totally unfair. Hell, a blind man could have saw this. It should have been first-degree murder. They should have thrown the book at him, and they did not. There was not a jury of our peers.
Sante, you referred to Sonia as a sister. I know that was your cousin, but how are you feeling right now?
I'm devastated. I had to watch Sonia's daughter, Summer. She became inconsolable.
So, one thing. Where were they during the years of this woman's obviously declining mental health? I don't know. Maybe somebody can explain that to me. Because apparently there were calls and calls and calls over many, many years or months or whatever it was. And she was a, mentally incapacitated person that was apparently by herself that day. I'm not really sure. But here's the thing. When it comes to, and again, he was convicted by a jury. I don't know if of his peers. If you can look up, I believe there was seven or nine women on the jury. He was convicted by a jury, basically saying that just shy of intentional murder. He responded to a call that she made, and then when you watch the body camera, she goes to. She's sitting down in the beginning of the living room, in the vestibule or whatever it was. She goes, then proceeds to the kitchen. She picks up a pot of boiling water and basically says something to the effect like, I'm sending you to Jesus or whatever. They yell at her to drop the pot. She doesn't drop the pot. He says, I'm going to shoot you in the face if you don't drop it. She doesn't drop it, and he shoots her in the face. Now, what you need to know in terms of law enforcement is what law enforcement personnel are taught is that you are allowed to use deadly force in the event that you think that someone is either going to be using deadly force against you, or there's a big or if you believe you can sustain serious bodily harm. If you believe that you are about to sustain serious bodily harm by the actions of another person, then you are allowed to engage in deadly physical force against them. Great point. Don't know how that didn't come across in the trial. Now, I haven't really dissected this. I'll do a little bit of a deeper dive. I just wanted to just touch it right now in the very beginning because it's kind of fresh. But I'm not really sure how a defense attorney could not illustrate to a jury that, again, this was like a 10-foot distance from the lady to the police officer at the time that he discharged his firearm. If I have a pot of boiling water and I'm 10 feet away from you, I'm not really sure how, if I throw that against you, that I cannot perceive the fact that I would have serious bodily harm at myself. I just don't see how that cannot be conveyed. I don't see how at least one of those jurors could not get to that level. Because you just need one. You just need one to say, like, he seems like he could have been really afraid that he was going to gets scalded in his fucking face. Maybe yes, maybe no. I mean, who knows? But I would think that you could convince one of them of that point. I don't know how you wouldn't be able to, but this is where we are. This is where we are. This thing has been promulgated as another white versus black, stuff like that. I personally, in my personal opinion, had the roles in this been reversed, we never would have heard the story. Had the cop would have been black and the victim would have been white, we never would have heard the story. It's just one of those things where it's kind of like it just tries to spark the Floyd riots again. It tries to do all these things all over again. And once you dive deep into the vast majority of these stories, you find way more than meets the eye in the very beginning. Always. You always find way more than meets the eye. Don't even get me started on George Floyd. I mean, Freddie Gray or Eric Gardner, or you go down the line, and once you open the Pandora's box in all of these cases, I haven't done it with this one yet. I've done it with the other ones. Hands up, don't shoot. Never happened. I mean, that was something that was ubiquitous for years. Hands up, don't shoot. Like, it got to the point where, I mean, if you just think about that the entire country had a slogan, had a meme, had something that they were doing that was completely false, but everyone believed it. It just shows you how easy these things can just get legs, and they'll just run. But unfortunately, this is where we are in our society. Our justice system is an absolute joke. I would not trust a jury of my peers at this point to be able to impartially sit down, listen to what the rules are. Because once you know what the rules are, it's a ground ball. Now, and again, I may not agree with what he did and his tactics. I could say that the department has a legal justification to maybe fire him, discipline him, because I don't know what their rules and regulations are. It could have just been, he gets there, she's an emotionally disturbed person, call the ambulance, and just, if she goes to the kitchen, well, I don't know why he let her go to the kitchen. There are definitely tactical issues in the scenario that aren't great. But in the end, he still was justified in his actions. And I can see that as clear as day. Maybe had I sat through the trial, would I have think differently? I don't know. Perhaps, maybe I didn't. Maybe I don't have all the information. But from what I see on that body camera, he was justified in his actions. Maybe they weren't the best actions, but doing something well and being justified are two different things. They don't compare. There is no legal. Well, legally, you didn't do it well. That's not a thing. Am I justified in my actions? And I cannot get to a point in watching that body cam over and over again where I see him not being justified. Guys, if you're still here, please hit subscribe. Doesn't me a lot of good. That's all I ask for. Just hit subscribe to the channel. Let's see what else we got going on over here.
I have to watch my mother, my aunt, Donna. They're devastated, and I'm devastated for them. I just think that we have a long couple of days ahead of us.
To the Grayson family, what do you say to them? They were in the courtroom. You all obviously made eye contact at times. What's your message to them?
I feel sorry for them. The mother came over and apologized, and she said, we did not raise him that way, and I'm really sorry for your family. My heart goes out to them. We lost Sonia, but they lost a son, and what he did for Sonia, he has to pay, and they realize that.
You're saying Grayson's mother came up to you during the trial?
During the trial, and apologized not only to me, but to the entire family, especially Sonia's mother.
That is wild. Wild. And that is, I don't know what type of a woman she is. But again, a lot of us that have friends and family in law enforcement or understand what law enforcement is, how it works, the ins and outs of it, the legal justifications that you need for everything that you do. Once you're in that world, you kind of lose the normie mentality. Like you just get it all. You understand it all. But your friends and family, your wife, your mother, your father, whatever, if they don't live that world, they still won't know, and they still will see things in a different light. And that's the only way that I can explain that. the fact that a mother would just essentially throw her son under a bus and, basically from what she's saying, I don't know if this is true, but just flat out say, my son is guilty of murdering this person. That's very tough. It's very tough. It's kind of gross, to be honest with you. But yeah, I don't know if a father, I wonder what his dad would say. I don't know.
Wow. What was that like? That's not something I would imagine we're expecting.
We did not expect it, but we had been with this family on the other side, watching us, looking at us for months after months after months, and they would mumble, "I'm so sorry." But to actually come over and touch us and tell us that they were sorry. There was one point that we didn't think we were going to be able to get in the courtroom. It didn't look like I was going to get in. And guess what? Grayson's mom said, "You can come in on our list," because they didn't have anybody over there. But because she felt sorry for the family and they wanted to offer some types of condolences.
Knowing how divided this case has been for so many people, is there anything to be gained?
Just the fact that they're human as well. And we raise our children, but we don't know how they're going to turn out. And this is the worst case example of how a child can turn out. A monster is what he is.
I have to speak with Summer and Malachi, Sonia's children, and I have to explain to them that, there are hiccups in the justice system. But what we need to do, and what we in particular aim to do, is deconstruct what we can deconstruct and rebuild a new justice system. We have to, or else things like this are going to keep on happening.
By that, do you mean changing the law? Because I know you all spoke at the news conference about something in between first-degree murder and second-degree murder that you feel may have felt a little bit more weighted.
It's just wild to me. Like, I mean, listen, a couple of things. One, from my understanding, like, he did testify in the trial and he came off very arrogant. So that's not good, obviously. But that's neither here nor there. It all comes down to justification. I'm going to leave this here, break it down a little bit more on another video. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. 6283 Talk on the X. If you want to follow me on the X. Thanks a lot. Subscribe. I'm John Soto. See you again in the next video. Take care, guys. Later.